Hello, hello, hello everybody, it's Sen here, back again, Boom Bap Kid, here with another video tutorial. This one is something very important and special to me, and I'm glad I can share it. This is the drum bus settings and plugins that I use almost every single time on my productions. So whenever I'm going in and I want to make some hip-hop sampled boom bap beat of any kind, I am going to be throwing my drums through this processing probably 99% of the time. There's some alternatives I'll use that I will show you as well. Some things that I do that are maybe a little unconventional that can be of use. So let's jump straight into it. And I created this drum pattern not too long ago with some drum samples I have. It's just a 2-bar loop. We're at 92 BPMs because, you know, boom bap. And I have about 58% swing on these, which probably seems like a lot, and it is a lot, but it sounds good. It's from the MPC 3000. You can't ever go wrong with these swing settings. They're literally perfect. So let's get started. Let's just play this for you. Okay, that's nice, it's nice. So what I did is I took these in my sampler and I put them to separate mono tracks. So I have each sound as a separate track in my mixer. We can just go ahead and label these real quick. Welcome back to the video. I have these at a level I think is pretty good. That's hitting nice, has a nice groove. The next thing I'm doing is I'm going to select all these channels. For me, it's just holding shift. I can go to the end and it will select everything in between. And I'm going to go to my routing options, and I'm going to go to a drum bus. If you do not know how to make a bus, somewhere in your mixer, you can usually add a bus and then name it whatever you want. So I'm going to take these and send them all to it. And then I'm going to turn this off, and we can listen to it at the end of the video, but I'm going to go through here and describe why I have each one of these plugins on my bus channel and what it is actually doing to enhance my drums. So first of all, I start off pretty simple. I have an effects rack that is adding some slight saturation from a preamp and a radiator mixing amp. These are both Soundtoys plugins from the effects rack. And for the first one, I'm adding just a little bit of drive. I don't touch any of these other settings. I have them fully mixed in because I'm just adding just a little bit to the final equation. For the radiator, I'm boosting the bass a little bit up so my kicks can kind of hit a little bit harder. And I'm bringing the treble slightly down too. And that's a very boom bap technique, to bring the treble down a little bit. If you're mixing like Wu-Tang style drums, the treble would be even further down. But since it's 2021 and it's not 91, I just bring it down a little bit. I think that still sounds good and kind of true to the boom bap sound. At mix, I have this like what, 40%. You're not going too crazy with this. This doesn't really add too much of a crazy sound. I have this on clean. This is basically just the preamping of the drums. So if you have preamps or you have universal audio preamps like a Nev, that can be very useful. So let's show you what this sounds like with it. So that. As you see, this is just adding character. This isn't boosting volume at all. This isn't making it wider. This isn't in fact impacting the pocket. This isn't any kind of compression. It's just a little add at the beginning of it. The next thing I go into is I like to act like I'm running my drums through some type of tape machine to kind of better emulate the drum machines that were used back in the day for making this stuff. Like I used to have an MPC 2000 and it always sounded like it was running through some kind of tape machine. And I do have Reels and Satin and a few other tape machines that I can't think up off the top of my head, but I do like the J37 for just basic processing. This is a really good sound design tool as well, but what I have it on is I just go to the factory default, which is like the third setting, I want to say. I just lost it. There we go. I normally keep the saturation around 5. I'm going to add a little bit more saturation as it's emulating going through the tape machine. I'm going to bring, in the default, the in and out are about the same, but I don't want that pronounced of a flavor from this plugin because I'm already getting some saturation from the little bit of saturation I'm doing before. And if you're using a preamp, you're going to get some saturation type effects with that. So I bring this down just a little bit. I usually turn my bias to +3 just to give my drums a little bit more oomph, and turn the noise level down because it's unnecessary. Okay, I'm gonna play this with this. We'll see what that sounds like. This is without it. This is with. We're getting a lot more presence now. It sounds like it just ran through a tape machine. It's dirtied up a little bit. This is a very nice plugin, and it's really nice to have some tape kind of effects on your drums, just in a very light way. Next up, we have a compressor. So your drum bus is usually going to have a compressor. You can use so many different compressors for this. You can use a 2A. You can use the any replication of a 76. These are great for drums. These have individual drum settings as well, but we're talking about buses, so that's not too important. This is also really good on the bus. But my favorite, personally, so if I take this off, is the DBX 160. Now, I use the Waves version. There's a Universal Audio one. I don't know if there's any other emulations. I'm sure there are out there. But I just love this thing. And what I love about the Waves version is that it has a mix knob. And the mix knob is just like, because usually I'm somewhere in this range of like 90 to like 60% mix. And I'm not like fully just blasting the compressor on it. So usually when I have this on my template and I load up with it, I always have to mess with it right away. There's no like 100% best settings for my DBX 160. You really have to just feel it out. See, like I had settings, it wasn't even actually wait, let's turn it on. That would help. Okay, so this is what I like. I like it to not go past the -5 decibels. Play with the mix. As you see, I was just listening to a good part where the dynamics of my drums kind of increased without it being like overdone like it is here. Like here you start to like lose something, you can hear it. If you go too low, it's just like nothing's affected. So I really like it around there. Let's mess with the mix. Let's turn this down. I like it right about there. Like I said, you're mostly 60 to 90%. Sometimes you're using very little compression though if your drums just happen to glue together well, but that's more of like a luck thing, so don't expect that to happen often. And then after that, I just have an EQ, and what this EQ does at the end of here is I'm just taking away some of the sub of the kick if my sub bass or 808 is just not working well with the bottom of the kick. This can be done with any EQ. What I'm doing here, I can show in a standard EQ, which the Fab filter just looks like every EQ. So what I'm doing there is I'm just doing this. Like I'm just taking the very low ends of it out. And the B for the kick is usually around here. In 100 to 200, usually you have frequencies that aren't too flattering. So I usually dip just like what 0.3 0.3 of a decibel around here. Honestly, bring the Q down. I don't know. Usually there's a frequency there that just doesn't make your kick stand out. But that's what the Mag EQ4 is kind of doing. I'm just taking the bottom half of my kick out if my sub bass is like super occupied in this area and that's already pretty saturated. What I can also do with this if I really need to is I can bring the 40 hertz up if the bottom of my kick is weak. I can bring the 160 up if it's not very prominent. So this serves just as a multi-tool EQ. And if we do this, let's turn this on. Bring everything to the middle. Try playing around like 40. And that gives us a nice little boom. So I'm going to keep that like that. Let's try to 160. Kind of get a nice enhancement there. Let's try turning down the sub. We can get about that out nicely. You can see if we can enhance our snare with the 2.5. Maybe we do want to do that a little bit. And then I never use the air band on my drum. The air band in the EQ4 is amazing. It's great. I love it for so much things. For vocals, it's so nice. When I'm working with clients and their vocals just don't have that like extra oomph that I'm trying to get them, this is usually the mixing tool that I use to get there. But for drums, it's just not it, because you're gonna add air to everything. Everything in your bus is gonna start getting the air, and you don't want that. That's why also you don't want to go crazy with this, because you're adding that kind of frequency range to everything, and that's where you just got to do it till it sounds good. And that's it. That is mostly what I use on my drum tracks. Some other things that I can do sometimes is I'll use FabFilter's Saturn to really change up the kind of tonality of my drums. Like if I see my snares here and I kind of want a different snare, I can isolate this area, bring this up. So you can do some very creative changes to your drums. So just adding like saturation in this range. If you really want to like boom your kick, you can bring this up and you can kind of mess with the dynamics of that. It's always just a fun post tool. You can also do this with multi-band compression in your drums bus. You can change the tonality of it and get certain things amplified and disamplified. But definitely don't count out Saturn for a drum bus enhancement. It's such a powerful tool on anything, and especially drum buses. It shines. It shines like a bright star. What else do I do? Let me just look through real quick. Reverb on the drum bus, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna want like 1 or 2%. You're gonna want some like drum ambience setting. So I'm gonna go to Tal, shout out Tal, like Reverb 4. This is what I usually use on my snares. They have a where is it? Drum ambience. This is what we're looking for. As you see, it's kind of just like the mid areas. So if you wanted to add a little bit more like flinginess, I would do it solo. I would do it like here. Like for reverb, you really got to be careful. Delay, you can do very slight delay. That usually actually does help. here, you want very little, like so little, to bring the feedback like all the way down. Like I'm at 1%. I can still kind of hear it doing a little bit of its thing. So reverb and delay, definitely be careful with. I wouldn't fuck with too much unless you're doing creative elements to it and you're automating some delay or you're automating some reverb into a next section, which we'll talk about that, drum bus transitions in another video. But for now, I just wanted to show you what I use on my drum bus and what I feel the aspects that every drum bus should need and their uses. So I hope you guys have a great day. If you want more videos to pop up in your feed, you want to see more of this shit, you want to get better at making music, then I would highly suggest subscribing to the channel. Drop a like button because I would really appreciate it. And I'm always going to be here for you guys spitting that knowledge. So just do it. So I really gotta say, I mean, just do it. Like, why not? Like, it takes a second. Anyways, have a great day. Happy producing. I hope you guys make some fire right after this. I believe in you. Peace.